What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to Mementos. Now Memento finally got an extra deck monster in the form of the Twin Dragon, and on top of that it also got a brand new fusion spell. We also know that in the next core set, Infinite Forbidden, we'll get a brand new main deck monster, which is the Mystical Sheep 2 in Bone Creature form, and we also get another brand new fusion monster. That being said, this deck now has a lot more synergy, a lot more easy to use, and of course more effective combos thanks to the use of Twin Dragon, because it pretty much does everything it needs to for the deck. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. At the end of the video, I'll show you the very basic one card combo, and I'm also going to link you to another video where a tech with inside this deck I saw and I was like, yo, that's actually genius, so you can see that combo as well and get their thoughts on it. So with all of that out of the way, we're going to dive headfirst into profile, show you what we've got and explain why we've got it. Now, a decent amount of stuff has changed from the previous build as well. So in the previous build, I was playing 2 of the combined creation. I'm now only playing 1. It's pretty much all you need. You now have additional ways of being able to get a Memento monster to the graveyard, and you have ways of being able to successfully shuffle them back. You do need to be a little bit careful because you need to maintain 5 with different names in the graveyard to get this guy down. But when you get to the fusion monster or the fusion spell card, if you have destroyed a Memento monster this turn, you can actually spin the cards back from the graveyard to the deck, which is massively helpful. We are, of course, playing triple Memento, or I'm going to keep calling Memento, but it's Memento to learn. Oh dear. Either way, Mementos is what they should have been. We're playing 3 of the Anger Witch, which is one of your ideal starters, alongside 3 of the Darkblade as well. We are playing 3 Tatsunokos. I arguably want to get rid of this and cut this down to 2. This is the one that clashes with the deck the most, and what I mean by that is, in order for you to compete, you need to be playing cards that aren't just all Mementos. And at the moment, we still don't have enough that allows you to play a full Memento deck and still get the same effects that an IP might bring you, or the same effects that a Super Volley provides you with the deck. So you need to go out of your way. Yes, the Twin Dragon does help you with that because it allows you to clear off those non-Memento monsters from the board in order to continue your plays. Now the Tatsu is so good because as long as you control, if you do not control any face-up monsters other than Mementos, you get to special summon this card from the hand for free. So once you've done that, after it doesn't really matter, but you still want to kind of maintain your own access to Mementos without locking yourself down. There are loads of combos where you search this out very easily, but what you're trying to do is you then need to go out of your way to destroy any monster that isn't a Memento on the board in order to free it up for this guy, so it can get a little bit bricky. So it's kind of give and take with everything you've got. I do still like playing the 2 mace. Now again, you can very easily cut this down to 1, but I do like the idea that if I do hard open this, as long as you control a Memento combined creation, you gain a quick event to discard it to target a face-up monster your opponent controls and take control of it. Now of course we do have more consistent ways, again referring back to the Twin Dragon, in order to get this recurred from the graveyard or get it to our hand at a later point as well. But there are times where I actually don't mind hard opening this card, keeping 1 in the hand and putting 1 to the graveyard through the other additional effects of all the other Mementos. It's something to consider. It's down to personal choice on that one. I like it at 2, but some people, I can see it playing it at 1. The same with the Tatsu. I think most people are playing it at 3, but there are times where like, it's more of an annoyance than a help, because you do go through your combo, and you'll see that in the link that I'll put in the description below, is you'll go through your combo, and then you have to go out of your way to destroy it, where it's like, oh, if I hard open this, I still get my monster to the board, and I'm not even really worried about the mass lock. And then of course we've got the 1 Gatic, which is obviously Karibo, followed up by the 1 Goblin and the 1 Horned Dragon. So that's all you really need. You're just using them for different names. And when we do get the Mystical Sheep version as well, that will be one that will come in and will probably take the place of maybe a second Tatsu, or maybe the second Mace very easily. Then of course we've got the brand new Memento Fusion. This card's insanely good. Now the reason I'm only playing 2 and not 3 is because throughout your combos you will very easily search this, you'll destroy it, send it to the graveyard, you'll recover it back from the graveyard. You just want 2 so you can constantly loop them around, because you do have the second effect in the graveyard where you banish it in order to destroy a monster you control and then add a Memento spell or trap, which can give you direct access to stuff like Bone Party and of course the field spell, which is one of the other big changes for the deck as well. So of course we are playing triple Bone Party. This is the one that I would expect, this in the Witch, that I would expect to go up through the roof. I feel the combined creation, because it had a quarter century, an ultra rare, and it had a collector's rare, will be a little bit easier to get hold of. If you're looking to max rarity this deck, it can be a little bit tricky, because I believe they ended up having like 4 cards, collector rares. But honestly, I feel that this will be the one that will spike the highest in price alongside the Witch. So if you want to be picking this deck up, get it now. I picked it up when the first wave of support came out because in all honesty, the set that it came out with wasn't the greatest, in my opinion. Yeah, of course, it had the Valmonicas, but what I really liked about this appealed to me in the artwork. I loved the whole classic artwork being changed to bone creatures, really gave it a nice thing, and I was like, even if the deck doesn't turn out to be good, I just like the idea of having the artwork. The one big change that you play on this is you now only really need one field spell. It is very easy for you to destroy a Memento in your turn to allow you to add a Memento back from the graveyard and set it, and that's how you can recycle the fusion. Obviously beforehand we were only recycling the Bone Party, but now we have the ability to recycle the fusion, and that can be very, very helpful because the fusion is insanely important. And I've just realised I completely skipped over the fusion effect, so apologies on that one. So the fusion effect is during the main phase, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a Memento monster. If a monster or monsters in your possession was destroyed this turn by a card effect, so yours or your opponent's, you can also shuffle Memento monsters from your graveyard into the deck as material. So that's how you can very easily shuffle back some of your materials for the Twin Dragon. There will be times, and you need to keep an eye on your graveyard, where you're going to want to make sure you only shuffle back one from the grave and then one from the field, because you're going to need that additional 5 names in the graveyard to get your big combined creation to the board. On top of that, if that wasn't enough, you also have the ability is during the main phase you get to banish it, destroy one monster you control, and if you do, add a Memento spell and trap from your deck to the hand. So that's when you're going to be able to get into your field spell, and you can only use each effect once per turn. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't lock you into only fusion summoning X amount of cards. It's just one of them ones that it allows you to spin back a Memento monster if you want to. Now, the card you're going to want to try and go into during your opponent's turn with this, it can't do the spin back because you're going to be going for Guardian Chimera, and that needs to use hand and field, but it's very easy, the fact that this doesn't lock you into only going Mementos, to utilize a fusion spell like that to do that. And then we're only playing one of each of the traps, so the one Fracture Dance and the one Cranium Burst. Then this is the Spicy Engine, so massive shout out to Squiddy on this one. It was actually their video that I looked at, and I saw the combo and I was like, what? So what's really kind of cool with this is he plays triple Terratop now that we have it back to 3 with the one Tuckentile Borg, the one Dug Charger, and the one Grand Entrance. And the reason for that, believe it or not, Goblin Biker Grand Entrance says add a Goblin monster from the deck to the hand. Oh, guess what also is a Goblin here if I put it in the right place, which I probably didn't. No, we actually have Memento Goblin. You can just search out your Goblin, which is really, really funny. And if that wasn't enough, you detach an XYZ from a monster on either field, and if you do special on a level 4 or lower, Goblin monster. This searches this, detach the material of a big Gabunga, summon this down. Like, that's insane. So you're getting direct access to the Goblin, you're getting an additional monster on the board, and the best thing that the Terratop provides you is it allows you to do all of this combo without normal summoning. And as you go through that combo, you will then get the ability to get into your Twin Dragon, and the Twin Dragon will then allow you to destroy itself and add you 2 Mementos, which can be your direct access to your Darkblade. So it's another way of either being able to provide you from protection with cards like Nibiru, or it's going to get you directly into your normal 1-card combo anyway. Now, I'm not going to show you that combo in this video because I didn't come up with it. That's all Squiddy, so I'm just going to give all the credit to that one, and you can go and check out their video. I will show you the basic 1-card combo off of the back of Darkblade or Angle Witch, which happens after the Terratop. It's just a very cool, consistent way of order to get into it combo as consistently as possible. Now, the last cards I'm going to show you are pretty much either your board breakers, your hand traps, or basically your environmental specific cards you're going to want to use. So for that, I've got with triple Ash Blossom, triple Imperm, 1 Call By, double Super Poly and double Forbidden Droplet alongside double Prosperity. These are just my personal choices. You can very easily change these out for specific hand traps. Now, I know instantly you're going to be like, where the hell is Nibiru? So I feel in the early stages, a lot of people are going to be on Tenpai at the local area. I feel that everyone's going to be trying them, so I feel Nibiru is null and void. It's not going to be good against the Tenpais, it's not really that great against Voiceless Voice, and it's not great in the fire matchup. Yes, it will cause issues, but I feel now that a lot of people know that it's going to be floating around, they're either going to play around it, and the only time you're going to get hit with a Nibiru, or you'll successfully hit them with a Nibiru, is if they get a little bit lapsical and they don't expect it. So in the early stages, let them start to think that no one is playing Nibiru because it is a lot harder to deal with or a lot harder to break the boards. And then when everyone starts letting their guard down and goes, right, no one's playing Nibiru, I'm just going to go combo like mad, then you can hit them with Nibiru. Obviously, if your local environment is not Voiceless Voice, Snake Eyes, and of course the Tenpais, then you might want to consider putting the Nibiru in because it's going to be more effective in the rogue matchup, stuff like Yugioh and everything else. But I feel that so many people are going to be prepared for Nibiru that it will be more of a waste than being able to main deck stuff like Super Poly and Forbidden Droplet. Obviously, the idea is that your super body target just gives you that out and out way of being able to break a ball without their response. It also gives you that defensive option that you can set. And I feel that one of the biggest issues, or one of the biggest struggles that the Tenpais will have, is back row. And when you can utilize back row during the battle phase, they need to go out of their way in order to deal with it. It's stuff like Black Rose Dragon which will get rid of them, and that's where it's going to get a little bit tricky, especially if they got the field spell, because then they'll be protected during the activated effects during the main phase 1. But that's something, again, that you will adapt your playstyle to and your deck. Remember, in order for them to do the Black Rose effect, they're going to need to have the ability to get into Pedra, search out the spell, and then already hard open either the Quick Play spell or the Fire Dragon. So it does become a 2-card combo in order for them to complete the OTK. If they get it, so what it is what it is. They still need to play through an Ash Blossom as well. In order to get their field spell. You could put in Ghost Ogre if there are Tenpais running around all over the place, because as soon as you get rid of the field spell, you take away their miscellaneous protection, which is really, really important. So that's it for the entire main deck, and now I'm going to show you the extra deck and give you as much explanation as I possibly can. So moving on to the brand new Twin Dragon. Now the reason we're playing 2 is because you can recycle it very easily from the graveyard with your combined creation and technically with your fusion spell as well. So this card is an amazing addition to the deck. It requires 2 Memento monsters. Any monster destroyed by battle with a Memento monster is banished. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you get to destroy a Memento monster in your hand or face up on the field, including itself. And if you do, you add up to 2 Memento monsters with different names from the deck to the hand. If this fusion summon card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 level 6 or lower Memento monster from the graveyard. So all of those effects that the Twin Dragon has are massively important. The fact that it can recycle 1 from the graveyard, the fact that it searches you out 2 cards, which if you're able to get off of this off the back of the Terratop, you maintain your normal summon. So getting into something like Darkblade or Anger Witch just gives you more of a kickstart option. Yes, the biggest downside is no matter what way you do your combo, you will burn and run into a Nibiru. On the plus side, when you do that through your Terratop combo, you've only used Terratop and then you've replaced the hand by plussing an additional card, because this will add you 1 being off of the 1 for Terratop and then 1 more in addition to that as well. Yeah, as soon as you conduct your normal summon and then make your plays through the back of that, you're going to burn through more resource, but you're still playing a lot of hand traps, board breakers, prosperity for consistency. So even if they do Nibiru your board, you're still going to have a bit of a crackback as well in order to deal with it. Speaking of the Nibiru, if you want to go really protective and you don't want to be relying on the Tatsu or locking yourself into Mementos, you can play the 1 Bamboozling Gossip Shadow as a defensive option instead of going down the Big Gabunga route. On top of that, if you are going second and you just want to go Big Gabunga, you can make a rank 3 off of the back of your Terratop. Then all you need to do is go into battle phase, declare an attack with this, then rank up into a Downward Magician, and of course, then go into a Zeus. So straight away, 1 card Terratop, still maintain your normal summon. You've been able to get into a Zeus, break up the entire board. Yes, you've lost your normal summon, but this is a heck of a lot more consistent than trying to rely on something like an Evenly Matched. And you will still have the Zeus with a double send as well. So if they do, worst case scenario, break your Memento board, you still have Zeus to fall back on. The idea is that once you get to this position point here, you then want to start trying to continue and build your board with Mementos without relying on the Tatsu that locks you down, and then still be able to build your board. If you need to, you're Zeusing your opponent's entire board, you're then going to destroy this as you normally would in the combo anyway, and then continue to build. Speaking of when you destroy your stuff in the combo, of course, 1 card that you can utilize is Pit Knight Earl. So the idea is that when you do destroy this card, and that is what the fusion monster will give you, is it lets you destroy any card, not just a Memento monster. It will give you the ability to float this back in the end phase. So you clear it off, you only have Mementos, then you bring it back, and you still have the ability to negate stuff. On top of that, as you're building your board, towards your end board, you will end up with an IP Masquerena, which of course, when you use this effect, you can trigger Pit Knight to negate as well. So you're just adding more and more interruptions. Then of course, for the super body targets, we are playing the 1 Garura and the 1 Mud Dragon. And then that fusion monster that you can also get into alongside your Twin Dragon is of course Guardian Chimera. So being able to access this through your Memento fusion spell, you have a quick play spell that you're able to search. The only downside is it can only be activated during the main phase. Then of course, you've just got a lineup of generic link monsters. So you've got IP Masquerena, which will lead you into an SP Little Knight. And the best thing about this is with your mace, and throughout the combo you'll be able to add your mace very easily, is you mace still one of your opponent's monsters and then IP using that monster to go into an SP. Dark the Dark Charmer, Underworld Goddess to deal with like big towers, board breakers, anything like that. So you can deal with stuff like IP into it with like a Yubel matchup, which can be quite damaging for this deck because you do put like a 5k boss monster on the board. And then of course you've also got Appaloosa as just that out and out negated option. When your main deck boss monster is like a 5k tower house, you kind of want to play it a little bit differently, especially when I feel that Yugioh is going to be considered as the most anti-meta towards Tenpai, and I think a lot of people are going to be trying to work around those particular matchups, so you want to make sure that you don't run foul of just the generic decks that are trying to combat the main meta. Anyway, that is it for the entire profile. Like I said, I will put a link in the description below for the Squiddy combo that revolves around the Speedrod Terratop. But for you guys now watching along, I'll show you the one card combo that can come off the back of Darkblade or, of course, Anger Witch. So I'm going to zoom out and then be back in a second. So the basic one card combo starts off the back of Darkblade or Anger Witch. So you do have 6 different ways to do this. The only issue with it is the entire combo will struggle against all of the particular types of interruptions from hand traps in the forms of stuff like Nibs, Imperms, Ashes, Veilers. That's where the Terratop engine comes into play because it'll allow you to kind of pull out those hand traps before you get to these points. Especially if your opponent doesn't know what this deck does, you're going to have a great kind of surprise factor, which is going to be really, really helpful. I'll show you it off of the back of the Darkblade rather than off the back of the Anger Witch because all you're doing is adding the additional step to this combo. So you can just take out the first step and start with the Anger Witch instead. So we're going to start off by normal summoning Darkblade. You're going to use its main phase effect to destroy itself and special a level 3 or lower memento from the deck, and that of course will be your Witch. The Witch on normal or special lets you add a memento from the deck to the hand, and that's where your Tatsu is going to come into play. You now have the ability, because you do not control any other monsters apart from mementos, to special summon it down. In doing so, you can use its main phase effect to destroy a memento monster you control, and then send any number of mementos with different names from the deck to the graveyard, whose levels are less than or equal to the level of the monster you have just tributed or / destroyed, which is of course your Tatsu. So you can send up to a level 5, so you're going to send a 1 in the Goblin, a 2 in the Gatic, and the 1 in the Mace. In doing so, you can trigger Gatic's effect, which if it is sent to the graveyard via any memento monster's effect, you get to special summon it. Now it's really important you do not use the on-summon effect of the Gatic right now. You're going to want to save that for when you get the fusion in the graveyard to recycle it. At this point here, you're going to want to use Anger Witch's main phase effect to target a level 2 or lower memento in the graveyard, destroy a memento on the field, and if you do, special 1 back. So you're going to want to make sure you bring back the Mace, destroying the Gatic. In doing so, you now have the ability of the Mace's effect that allows you to destroy a memento monster you control and add a memento spell from the deck to the hand. So again, very important, that's how you're going to get access to your memento fusion, and you can destroy the Mace or the Witch. By adding the memento fusion, you're now in a position to be able to activate its effect, as you have definitely destroyed a memento this turn. You have the ability to spin back from the graveyard. You're going to want to make sure you spin back 2 from the graveyard, and the only monster or memento monster you want to be leaving in your graveyard after you have done your summon of the combined creation by shuffling back 5 monsters is the Anger Witch. Everything else can go back at any point that you want to. You probably want to keep the Gatic and the Goblin around in circulation, so I'd advise when you're using the fusion to spin 2 back, you go with your Tatsu and your Darkblade. So you're going to put those both back to the deck, and you're going to be able to summon out your Twin Dragon. In doing so, you can now trigger the Twin Dragon's effect. So this gives you the ability to destroy a memento monster in your hand or face up on the field to add 2 mementos with different names from the deck to the hand. So this is going to allow it to destroy itself and then add yourself a combined creation and a Horned Dragon. If that wasn't enough, you're now going to get the ability to bring 1 back from the graveyard, and this is where it gets really, really kind of cool, because this is going to give you the ability to start recycling your spells and traps from the graveyard. If that wasn't enough, you're just getting insane amounts of resource in order to get everything you need to, and you still have combined creation and a Horned Dragon with, at this exact moment in time, 4 monsters in the graveyard. So you're almost there, you just need that 1 additional monster in the grave, which is very easily done. So you're going to want to bring back your Goblin off of the destruction effect of the Twin Dragon, and in doing so, this is then going to give you the ability of the Goblin, which is really, really important. So during the main phase, you get to destroy a memento monster you control, and if you do, send up to 2 memento cards with different names from each other from the deck to the graveyard except itself. So that's really important because that's how you're going to be able to shuffle more cards into your graveyard in order to set everything up. So now in this position here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use the Memento Fusion in the graveyard, and that's the best thing about it, is it has multiple effects, to banish it, to destroy a monster you control, and then add a Memento spell or trap from the deck to the hand. So you're going to be able to banish the Fusion to destroy the Anger Witch, and then add a Memento spell from the deck to the hand, and you're going to want to go for the field spell, as this will give you the most resource. So what this is then going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to kind of still have the ability of getting stuff like your Horned Dragon and of course your combined creation to the board, as well as being able to add more to it. So if that wasn't enough, you're going to activate the field spell. And in doing so, if your momentum monster batters, your opponent cannot activate spells or traps until the end of the damage step. However, if a monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to target one of those monsters and special summon a memento monster with a lower level from the hand or the graveyard. And then at the end phase as well, you get to target a memento spell in the graveyard and reset it. So this is going to give you, if you have 3 or more memento monsters with different names in your graveyard, the ability to special summon down your Horned Dragon. If that wasn't enough, you also have the ability that if it's destroyed by card effect, to target 3 face-up cards on the field, including a Memento card you control, and destroy them. So that's going to be another nice form of interruption that is going to happen during your opponent's turn, which is really, really cool. Now, we still haven't even used Goblin's effect here, and you've also got to remember that you want to make sure you keep the Anger Witch in the graveyard. So you're going to want to use Goblin's effect here to destroy the Tri-Horn Dragon, or the Bone Dragon, in a sense, and send 2 from the deck to the graveyard. Now, it's up to 2, so you don't have to send both. You are going to want to send the Memento Fusion, because you're going to recycle that to utilize it during your opponent's turn. And then we are also going to be sending the Bone Party, which we will be recycling off of the back of the field spell. Now, instead of Bone Party, you can go for one of the trap cards. The reason we go for the Bone Party is it gives you the ability to destroy a Memento during your opponent's turn, which means that you can use the Memento Fusion spell to spin your fusions back, or your monsters back from the graveyard as well, to maintain more resource, which is really important. So you're now going to be able to use the Field Spells effect, that if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to target one of those monsters and special summon 1 back from the graveyard. So the one you're going to want to go for is you're going to want to go for your Gatic, and in doing so you can now trigger Gatic's effect to recycle a card from the graveyard, and that's going to be your Memento Fusion. So you've already recycled your materials, you've got everything you need to, and you still haven't even summoned down the Combined Creation. And the reason that's so important is you still have 2 monsters on the board here, so you can link both of these together and go into an IP Masquerena. So this is going to give you another form of interruption that we are already building, which is obviously great success. And what you've been able to do is you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is important. You have 6 in your graveyard with different names because you want to leave the Anger Witch there, which means you can now put all 5 of these back, including the fusion, into the extra deck in order to summon out your Combined Creation, which is going to give you another form of interruption. Like I said, make sure you're leaving the Anger Witch in the graveyard, as that is how you're going to be able to search out a mace when it's summoned during your opponent's turn off of the back of the Combined Creation. So what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to set the Memento Fusion, and then as you move to the end phase, you'll be able to trigger the effect of the Memento Field Spell, and this will allow you to add a Memento card from the graveyard and set it back. So this is really important, so you're going to be able to set your Bone Party. So off of that 1 card, you're still going to have 4 more cards to play with in your hand. These could be hand traps, these can be more back rows, they can be droplets, they can be super polys, you name it. So you've got all of these. You've also now got your big Combined Creation, which is your insane boss monster, IP Masquerena, Bone Party, and of course the Memento Fusion. So you have a lot to go with it, and like I said, you've also maintained the Anger Witch in the graveyard. So the best thing about that is during your opponent's turn, you're now going to have the ability to utilize, in response when your opponent activates something, the Combined Creation. So keeping in mind that your Combined Creation, while you control no other monsters, this card can attack all your opponent's monsters you control once each. But if your opponent activates a card or effect except during the damage step, so unfortunately not so great against the 10-by matchup sometimes, you get to special summon a Memento monster from your hand or graveyard. So that's when you're going to want to revive the Anger Witch, and in doing so your Anger Witch can then add to your hand of 5 already, to your hand of 4, sorry, and add you the mace. This now gives you the ability that during your opponent's main phase, if you control a Memento Combined Creation, which you do, you have the quick effect to discard the mace to target a card your opponent controls or a monster your opponent controls, and take control of it until the end phase. So let's say we discard the mace and we take control of one of our opponent's monsters. We're now in a position to very easily activate IP to use that monster we've just stolen and itself in order to make an SP Little Knight, which is going to provide you with a second form of interruption, technically a third form as well, because you would have had the steal off of mace, you'll have the banish on summon of SP, you'll also then have the ability of SP to tag itself out. If that wasn't enough, we still haven't even used a Memento Fusion, which, like I said, remember, can actually get you into a Guardian Chimera. And with those 4 cards in hand, if any of those are a monster, you can then use the Memento Fusion plus 2 of your monsters on the board, or 2 in your hand and 1 on the board, in order to get to where you need to go. You also still have the ability of activating the Memento Fusion, spinning back the mace as it was destroyed this turn. Sorry, not the mace yet. When you activate Bone Party, you'll be able to spin back a mace or whatever card you destroy in order to get into a Twin Dragon as well. So you've got loads of different options that you might want to shuffle around with and play around with, but that's your basic 1-card combo. At the very least, you will be ending on an IP Masquerena with a Combined Creation and the ability of Bone Party or a trap card equivalent with the Memento Fusion. So what you need to remember is, or consider, is when you're going into your opponent's turn, if you plan to use the Memento Fusion for your Guardian Chimera, then you can actually send one of the trap cards. If you're not planning to go into the Guardian Chimera and you actually want to go into your Twin Dragon, and the reason you would do this is so that when you destroy it during your opponent's turn, you'll get 2 more cards for follow-up, which will ultimately lead you with a hand of 6. Which is really, really important as well, should you feel you need it, maybe you don't. Then, of course, you can go down that route as well. So you've got the resource route, or, of course, you've just got the aggressive route, which, personally, I do quite like the idea of the aggressive route, because then what I can do is I can replace Bone Party with Fracture Dance or the Cranium Burst, and then add a Guardian Chimera to this end board. So I've got an SP Little Knight floating around. I've got a Guardian Chimera that has just either drawn me 2 and popped 1, or popped 2 and drawn me 1. I still have my big boss monster if I want to keep this on the board as well. So that once it comes back to my turn, obviously I don't care about this one attacking all my opponents once each, because I'll still control Memento monsters, but I'll still have the graveyard full with everything I need to, and then I can go through it like this. That's obviously one of the reasons that I might consider playing a second combined creation, but you do have a lot of flexibility with this deck, which is what I think is really kind of cool. The issue is, at the moment, the combo is very, very fragile unless you open up the Terratop engine, and I think that's where Skriddy got it really, really right, is because it just adds so much to your end board, or adds so much to your starting board, really, and it baits out all these forms of interaction. Especially, the best thing about it is how it's a very good misdirect, in the form that you go, okay, Terratop into Goblin Biker, and they're like, oh, right, cool, they're on Goblin Bikers, and then you search out the Memento Goblin, and then they're like, all right, maybe they're on some next level kind of spice. You summon down the Memento Goblin, and then you're like, oh my god, they're actually playing Mementos with a Terratop engine. This is crazy ridiculous. And I think it's an insane kind of misdirect that works out really, really well. Anyway, I hope this has been informative for you. I hope it's given you a nice breakdown of the profile. I hope it's given you a nice introduction into the basic combo. I mean, I say it's a basic combo. It actually can be quite complex as you're trying to build your way up with it. But as long as you learn the line and know exactly where you need to go to with all of the different steps involved, all you then need to do is add one more to it. So if you start off with the Angle Witch, you know, right, okay, well, if I open up a Dark Blade, I can still get the exact same outcome. And it's like, okay, cool, well, if I don't open up any of those, but I open up Terratop, all I need to do is add a couple more steps on it that you'll see in Squiddy's video that I'll link down in the description below, and I'll still get the exact same outcome, which is incredibly powerful. Like a 5k boss monster plus multiple forms of interruption off of the back of IP, SP, and Mace is insane. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.